challenge you to reach for the stars. Congratulations. Now it's my honor to introduce our National Honor Society advisors, Sarah Levine from Quincy High School and Carrie Ann Hart from North Quincy High School.
Good evening. I'll kick us off here. My name is Sarah Levine, and I am the advisor of the National Honor Society at Quincy High School. Thank you for inviting us here tonight to recognize our 64 graduating members. I am honored to present to you tonight our NHS students. As I call your names, you are going to rise and enter here to shake hands this evening. Ryan Al-Said, Taif Al-Sad, Mina Altikriti, Amina Amimer, Catherine Bardwell, Emma Bateman, Salma Bukhtam, Preston Caven, Andy Senomiri, Kelly Chan, Anita Chen, Emily Chin, Kieran Collins, Grace Connor, Celia Cronin, Lena Dang, Sonia Dykstra, Kathy Duong, Aiden Fisher, Devereaux Fuller, Aaron Garvin, Kira Golden, Giada Guarino, Tim Heiss, Isabel Hogan, Matthew Hollett, William Lanergan, Michelle Lee, Tiffany Lee, Caitlin Leong, Tamika Liang, Isabel Yamas, Teddy Marr, Ganga Mahesh, Layli Maruk, Trevor Mangino, Paige Mann, Ross Mwafliwa, Amy Nguyen, Shayla Nguyen, Mira Oakes, Victor Anderson Pereira, Dylan Perkins, Lena Pham, Michelle Fung, Eva Pekarsky, Maya Popa, Margaret Potts, Catherine Ramos, Sneha Rana, Declan Rogers, Matilda Rollins, Caitlin Sampson, Molly Smith-Gata, Kyle Tellini, Coy Henry Tran, Nancy Tran, Stanley Tran, Dylan Vo, Hannah Waters, Henry Wild, Jenny Wong, Alp Yokas, and Christine Zhao. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Carrie Ann Hart. I am one of the co-advisors of North Quincy High School's National Honor Society chapter. On behalf of myself and my co-advisor, Lauren Abbott, we would like to thank you for inviting us to tonight's meeting to recognize our graduating senior members. We have a total of 61 seniors graduating this year. The following students are in attendance with us tonight: Jonathan Jasper Baldini, Jessica Burberry, Victoria Berry, Angela Chen, Jasmine Chen, Julia Chen, Nelson Chen, Nicole Chen, Stephen Chen, Vicky Chen, Nathan Choi, Diana Dang, Boubacar Diallo, Arlie Dulia, Parker Evans, Brooklyn Geary, Joanna Guiney, Jasmine Wang, Laura Jiang, Cameron Johnston, Sophia Karanis, Ashley Lau, Kimberly Lee, Keldon Lay, Jasmine Lee, Iseen Liang, Kriza Labrea, Christine Lin, Sheann Liu, Grace McGough, Vanessa May, Isabel Ng, Sophia No, Jessie Pan, Nikki Pham, Sophia Slazas, Zara Valencius, Chloe Wu, Fanny Yang, Yuxi Yang, Rosalie Zhang, Jamie Zhang, Wendy Zhao, and Connor Zinda. I'm also going to recognize our students that were unable to attend due to academic and athletic conflicts: Avery Abrahamovich, Anastasia Belova, Elle Blayhut, Ava Bryan, Franklin Chen, Mabel Chen, Thomas Chen, Elizabeth Chung, Maggie Ching, Faye Fitzpatrick, Derek Lee, Kyra Lee, Vicky Lau, Victor Lau, Jahan Lin, Anushka Raj, and Jia Lin Yu. Thank you very much.
Could we have the Quincy High students come on up and we'll take a picture, a group picture, please? Come on up in front.
With your advisor, too.
Yeah, and your advisor.
So we'll do Quincy High first.
And then we'll do North.
You can come right up into the well.
Yep.
Squeeze right in.
Try and get the tall kids in the back. Who's taking the picture?
Laura's doing that. And Keith's
Do we
going
want
too.
to get out there and rearrange them? There you go.
50 tonight. Great job, Quincy High.
Can I say go president?
You're okay, right? You might as well stay.
Can I say go president?
Of course. After the bi-literacy.
There you go. There you go. Spread it out, spread it out.
Yep.
Should have the principal in there too.
Yeah. Oh, we should. We didn't have Keith.
You know, no.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready? Hey,
Good job,
great
guys.
job, North
Good
Quincy.
job.
You want to take a brief recess?
Yeah, yeah. Give them a minute to. So, everyone, we're going to take a brief recess so the students can get home and do their homework. Okay? Oh, no, wait, we have to do biliteracy first. Okay. Oh. Okay, Superintendent, the sale of biliteracy recognitions.
Great, thank you. It is again my honor to recognize and celebrate with you a momentous occasion in the academic journey of our high school students, the attainment of the seal of biliteracy. Today, we come together to recognize and applaud the exceptional dedication, perseverance, and linguistic talents demonstrated by these outstanding individuals. The attainment of the seal of biliteracy is a testament to the linguistic proficiency and cultural understanding that these students have cultivated throughout their high school years. By mastering not just one, but two languages, they have not only expanded their academic horizons, but also enriched their personal and cultural experiences. Whether it be through the study of Albanian, Arabic, Burmese, French, German, Italian, Korean, Lithuanian, Mandarin, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, Tagalog, Thai, or Vietnamese, these students have embraced the challenge of becoming proficient in languages beyond their native tongue, and in doing so have opened the doors to endless opportunities both at home and abroad. As we celebrate the achievements of our SAIL biliteracy recipients, it is important to acknowledge the invaluable support system that has played a pivotal role in their success. To the dedicated language teachers and the mentors who have guided and inspired these students along their journey, thank you for your unwavering commitment to fostering a love for language, learning, and cultural appreciation. To the families and loved ones who have stood by these students through every step of their linguistic odyssey, thank you for your unwavering support, encouragement, and belief in their abilities. The attainment of the seal of biliteracy is not just a recognition of linguistic proficiency, but also a celebration of diversity, inclusion, and global citizenship. In a world that is increasingly interconnected and interdependent, the ability to communicate across languages and cultures has never been more important. As recipients of the seal of biliteracy, these students are not just bilingual, they are bridges between cultures, ambassadors of understanding, and advocates for unity in diversity. In conclusion, your achievements are a testament to your hard work, dedication, and unwavering commitment to excellence. As you continue on your academic journey, may you continue to embrace the beauty of language, the richness of culture, and the power of communication to make a positive impact on the world around you. Congratulations once again, and may your linguistic journey be filled with endless possibilities and boundless opportunities. Thank you all very much. At this time, I'd like to introduce Coordinator of English Learner Education, Heather Wojcik, World Languages Department Chairs Alicia Tempau-Najeri from North Quincy High School, and Edie Boyton from Quincy High School to award the recipients. If you could come to the podium.
Good evening. So we'd like to take this opportunity to recognize 55 graduating seniors. And this is the second class in Quincy Public Schools to actually participate and earn this prestigious award for high school graduates who demonstrate that proficiency in English in one or more languages. And of the 15 languages that was actually recognized by the superintendent, we also have 9 languages that will be recognized for the first time this year: Arabic, Burmese, German, Italian, Korean, Lithuanian, Russian, Tagalog, and Thai. So these students have achieved great merits with their language. In this high language proficiency, the state provided them with one of 2 distinctions, either the Seal of Biliteracy or Seal of Biliteracy with Distinction. So for the Seal of Biliteracy recipients, these students earned an English proficiency score as measured by the state's ELA MCAS of 472 or higher. They earned a high intermediate level of proficiency on a state-approved world language assessment across all language domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And lastly, they satisfied all graduation requirements. For the recipients of the Seal of Biliteracy with Distinction, these students earned a score of 501 or higher on MCAS, an advanced level of proficiency on a state-approved world language assessment, and completed graduation requirements. So the level of seal and language are noted on the students' high school transcripts. Congratulations to all. And now, we'll start with North Quincy High for the Seal of Biliteracy.
This evening, we have 30 North Quincy High School seniors who will be receiving the Seal of Biliteracy. Jonathan Jasper Baldini, Italian and Spanish. Jessica Berberi, Spanish. Victoria Berry, Russian. Sofia Caraballo, Spanish. Jason Chen, Mandarin. Jiaqing Chen, Mandarin. Julia Chen, Spanish. Yi Chen, Mandarin. Elizabeth Chung, Spanish. Nicholas Chung, Mandarin. Boubacar Diallo, French. Brooklyn Geary, Spanish. Joanna Genie, French. Zero Li, Mandarin. Jiahan Lin, Mandarin, seal with distinction. Xiaobin Mei, Mandarin. Joseph Ethan Mercado, Tagalog. Aye Mon, Burmese. Juan Morales, Spanish. Jesse Pan, Mandarin and French. Roshin Chi, Mandarin. Fiona Sarachi, Albanian. Anna Sekmokas, Russian. Yai Situ, Mandarin. Sophia Salasius, Lithuanian and French. Lena Wang, Mandarin. Chloe Wu, Spanish. Hongchen Yang, Mandarin. Yushi Yang, Mandarin. And Rosalie Zhang, Mandarin with distinction. And now Edie Boynton, World Language Department Chair at Quincy High School, will read off the recipients for the seal at Quincy High.
Good evening. I have the honor of introducing the 25 Quincy High School seniors who have earned the seal of biliteracy in 11 different languages represented. So we'll start with Eduarda Albino, Portuguese, Taif Al-Sad, Arabic, Joaquim Beance, Portuguese, Guadalupe Bengoa, Spanish. When I call you, you can go up. Ingrid Caetana Sousa, Portuguese and Spanish. Mayara Clem, Portuguese. Ana Correa, Portuguese. Miguel dos Reis, Portuguese. Jeanette Figueroa, Spanish. Tim Heiss, German with distinction. Lam Huynh, Vietnamese. Mint Jenduet, Thai. Stacy Janelle Lorente, Tagalog, with distinction. Amanda Leo Bacalo, Portuguese, with distinction. Isaac Lee, Korean. Isabella Yamas, Spanish, with distinction. Hai Luang, Vietnamese, with distinction. Rigo Martinez. Sophia Martins Rodriguez. Bao Nan Nguyen, Vietnamese. Victor Anderson Pereira, Portuguese. Ilgert Shihaj, Albanian. Kimi Valet, French. Edwin Vino, Spanish. Nancy Zhu, Mandarin. And I did miss Victor Anderson Pereira, was Portuguese with distinction.
Close again.
go presidents on three. 1, 2, 3. Go presidents. Appreciate you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Now we're going to call a recess so all of the students can head home and do their homework. And then we'll continue with the rest of the meeting. So we'll take a few minutes to recess, okay? Okay, we'll continue with the meeting, back in order. At this time, we're going to do open forum. And open forum is an opportunity for community input regarding the Quincy Public Schools. Community in this context is defined as a resident of the city of Quincy, a parent of a student who attends the Quincy Public Schools, or an employee of the Quincy Public Schools. Non-community persons not permitted to speak at open forum may submit written statements to the school committee. After giving his or her name and address, each speaker may make, pardon me? After giving his or her name and address, each speaker may make a presentation of no more than 4 minutes to the school committee. An individual may not exchange their time or yield to others. Interested parties may also submit written statements to qscopenforum@quincypublicschools.com. If there is anyone who would like to speak at open forum, please proceed to the podium.
Sarah Alessandro, 70 Edward Street. Strong leaders do not. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Strong leaders do not dig in their heels when they've made a mistake. They acknowledge their error and correct it. City Council has given you this opportunity to show what leadership means to you. Do better. Know better. Do better. Make Lunar New Year a school holiday. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Earl. I live on 118 Billings Street, and I'm a Quincy resident. I had 4 kids that went through the Quincy schools. When you have 5, you forget. And actually, several of the times I've come here has been about intercultural things or language issues. But this is something that I think is a really important topic, and that is the Lunar New Year. With a city that has nearly 40% of our student population from Asian backgrounds, and in AAPI Heritage Month. This is a wonderful opportunity for the city of Quincy to honor so many of our hard working students who make up such a large, actually the largest minority position in our schools. So we'd love to see this step go forward, that the city council, that the mayor has expressed support for, and many residents, hundreds, have sent in letters regarding their support for making Lunar New Year a holiday celebrated in the city of Quincy. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Claire Fitzmaurice. I live at 9 Calvin Road, and my 2 children successfully graduated from Quincy Public Schools K-12. I'm here to support the establishment of Lunar New Year as a holiday for our Quincy Public Schools. If I may, I want to just tell one anecdote. I was in the international foods aisle at Stop and Shop on Southern Artery about 10 years ago, and another woman and I were helping each other to find different products, and at one point I said, you know, I really should just go up to Cam Man. I'll be able to get it there. And this woman looked at me and said, don't you just love Cam Man? And I said, yeah, I do. I said, you know what's really amazing? I said, I can't afford to travel to Asia. Asia came to me. Asia is with us. 1 out of 4 human beings celebrates Lunar New Year. I really hope we can celebrate it here in this city. Thank you.
Peter Ng, 19 Glendale. Good evening, Mayor Koch, member of the school committee. My name is Peter Ng. I'm a Vietnam veteran with a successful career in the United States Air Force and Federal Aviation Administration. I'm also an active board member of the South Coast Community Health in Quincy. And we are voted one of the Massachusetts #1 healthcare organization for the Asian population and the third in the United States. This evening, I stand before you to express my strong support for closing Quincy Public School on Lunar New Year in recognition of our vibrant Asian community. For the past 3 years, Quincy residents had consistently advocated for the change through petition and letter to the school committee. However, the committee has yet to approve this request. What will it take to get this to yes? Our rapidly growing Asian community deserve recognitions of Lunar New Year's and acknowledgements of their cultural heritage. Recognizing Lunar New Year with a school closure would demonstrate the committee's commitment to inclusivity and respect for the cultural traditions of a vital segment of our community. Let's celebrate inclusivity with a yes vote on a school closure for this important holiday. I urge the Quincy School Committee to finally recognize the Lunar New Year with the school closure. Thank you. Mayor, I have 1,000 petitions here from the resident of Quincy. May I present this to you?
If I falled over, someone pick me up. I'm Dr. Stephen Tang, and I am at Hancock Street 435, where the South Cove Community Health Center has opened its business over a third of a century ago. I started the health center 52 years ago to help with the health needs of the linguistically handicapped people in Boston, and we've done a pretty good job. We now have 36,000 people we take care of, 10,000 of which come from the Sphere community. And so I'm here to share a little bit of our thoughts quickly, and then thank you, council members and mayor, for your time. Okay? The South Cove Community Health Center was founded these 52 years ago with a mission to provide health and well-being for all medically underserved in Massachusetts, with a special focus on non-English speaking Asian Americans who did not have a voice then. There were people that were pregnant, had no prenatal care, in the shadows of Tufts and all that sort of stuff. And when it came time to be delivered, they were delivered not in their language. So I set forth with a bunch of other people to start the health center by providing high-quality community-based health care and health promotion programs that are accessible and linguistically and culturally competent to these populations. The South Coast has become the largest Asian primary care provider with, again, over 36,000 active patients. So in 1996, we expanded our service to Quincy, tentatively first at the McDonald's in South Quincy, and we later on built two places at 435 Hancock and 88 Home Street to house our complete facilities. And there we take care of 10,000 Quincy residents, okay? As a board of directors, we have always thought that the Lunar New Year was very important. We only have 8 major holidays. We made one of them the Lunar New Year. That's been on for over 30 some odd years. And the Lunar New Year is the most important annual holiday that our staff and patients celebrate with their extended families. It's not just a day to have food, but it's a family event that honors their heritage, the relatives, and the ancestors, okay? Together with our staff and patients aboard, the South Cove values this as a significant cultural event and supports other Quincy community efforts to recognize the importance of this Lunar New Year. We hope this input is helpful. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Shivpreet Singh, 511 Hancock. I'm immensely grateful for the support extended by Mayor Koch, the City Council, and Courtney Produce in acknowledging the Lunar New Year as a holiday for Quincy public school families. This allows the families celebrating Lunar New Year to enjoy the festival with their loved ones. Having consistently supported the recognition of Lunar New Year as a holiday for the past 2 years, I was deeply shocked and saddened by the justification given to deny it. The intention behind celebrating Holi in Quincy was to foster community unity, but regrettably, it was used to pit the community against each other, which was very saddening. And that festival was supported by whole Quincy. So many Asian families, so many families from other cultures came and supported us, and same way we support Lunar New Year as a holiday in QPS. I stand firmly in solidarity with the families who celebrate Lunar New Year. This was a great opportunity for the school committee to demonstrate their commitment, vision, and inclusivity to Quincy's multicultural community. Sadly, this opportunity was missed. Nevertheless, I'm grateful for the City Council who listened and supported their constituents and understood the significance of Lunar New Year for the families. As leaders, consensus, connection, and collaboration must be prioritized over fear, assumption that we would have asked a holiday for us. Nobody asked us what we wanted, and division in decision-making process. Unfortunately, the leadership of some members of our school committee has fallen short of these expectations. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Sorensen Alawad. I live at 3 Rood Street. I have 2 children in Quincy Public Schools, one in middle school and one in high school. Lunar New Year as a school and city holiday is an emotional issue for many of Quincy's Asian families who have been advocating for the past few years for this to be officially recognized. It was inspiring to see the City Council's unanimous vote in favor of Lunar New Year. They heard their constituents and they responded accordingly. For Quincy's Asian families, Lunar New Year is a holiday of cultural significance and should be formally recognized as such by the school committee by adding it to the calendar. For that reason, I'm here tonight as an ally of the Quincy Asian population in support of Lunar New Year. And I want to consider why I feel this way and why it's significant and should be added to the calendar. I want to just start by thinking about the population of Quincy. According to census data in Massachusetts overall, 7% of the population is Asian. But when we look at Quincy, 40% of the city population identifies as Asian. That's the second highest percentage in the state, and we're only second to Boston. When we look at our school population, as others have said, we have several schools, including North Quincy High School, that have over 50% of students identifying as Asian. When it's Lunar New Year, 60% of them are absent to celebrate their holiday. Clearly, Lunar New Year is not a random occasion that someone made up or that impacts only a few people. This is a major holiday across several Asian countries that so many of Quincy's residents descend from. And as it's been pointed out before, it would be frivolous to identify every holiday of religious or cultural significance and add them to the calendar. No one's asking for that. But what we ask you to do now is add the one holiday that's applicable to a huge number of students, their families, and a significant number of residents of the city of Quincy, and that's Lunar New Year. As elected members of the school committee, you are beholden to us, your constituents who voted you in. We are the parents, guardians, caregivers, families, and alumni of Quincy Public Schools. We have spoken and voiced our desire to add Lunar New Year to the calendar in polls, letters, emails, excuse me, and open forums like this one, time and time again. So I ask those of you who have consistently voted no, why doesn't formally acknowledging Lunar New Year seem like the right thing to do and to prioritize? Where is the evidence that we should not add it to the calendar beyond your own personal opinions and biases? Why wouldn't you want to be responsive to those of us who voted you in when we've clearly indicated that this is what we want and the City Council has clearly recognized and heard us. Please do the job that we elected you to do, which is to see us and hear us, advocate for us, and be our voice as members of the City School Committee. That voice is saying Lunar New Year belongs on the calendar as an official holiday. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Jack Donahue, West Quincy. My family's been in Quincy for 180 years, fifth generation. I attended Quincy Public Schools. I went to Quincy High. I graduated in the early 70s. At that particular time, there was Susie Lee and her brother Eddie. That was it, Asian. That was it, many years ago. And I'm here now, back in Quincy, coming back from Miami after 25 years. I opened Grand Asia with Fidu, your former treasurer. And tonight I stand here as a person in support of this holiday for the families, because I know them. In fact, I know everyone on this board, the committee. I voted for most of you, if I could. And it's nice to be here tonight. The point is that times are changing, and the city is changing rapidly. I see the population. I saw it tonight with all these wonderful young students who got those awards. It was very impressive, and they deserve it. The problem is you've created this problem, and the problem is the city is so well adapted in its educational process that everybody wants to live here. You've changed the schools, upgraded, improved them. You put Central Middle, which is almost identical to Quincy High, so the transition would be beautiful. You created this, and you especially, the mayor. The city is on fire. I built Miami South Beach. You've heard of it? I was the first one there in 1990, and I left 11 years ago. And I came home to caretake my mother and my two aunts, Mary Pickering, Pearl Joyce Donahue, Aunt B, who owned the Wollaston floors for 38 years. I saw all of Wollaston change. Times are changing. People are changing. I remember being able to go to maybe 9 Roman Catholic churches here. There's down to 5, 4. Irish, Italian, who built. Things are changing. And the Asian American community are adding so much, are asking for so little. So I don't know how you work it out. Don't work it out, make it happen, but they're here tonight. I mean, these are very prominent people. I won't get into it, but they're very prominent people. And I thank you for listening to me tonight. And you know I know you. We all get along very nicely. The city's on fire. People want to be here from all over the world. I had Grand Asia. Do you even know what a Chipao, a Kwa, and Aoyai is? I sold them for 13 years. People come from all over New England to come to Quincy for the restaurants, for the soon-to-be future, and that's as Tim Cahill's doing a great job too. It's just on fire. Let me not be winded. Thank you for listening, and I hope that everybody gets what they work and they'd like. I know nothing about what the city council's doing, whatever. I'm just talking to you people. The schools are great. I got my education here. I learned more here than anywhere else I went. So thank you for the hard work you're doing. Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tere Rodriguez. I live in 6 Dow's Road. Just today, we celebrated the rich tapestry of our city's diversity by acknowledging the language diversity in our schools, by recognizing the class of 2024 Seal of Literacy recipients. I'm still in awe about the representation of languages and the ability of all these students who are speaking a second language and the richness that they bring into the classrooms. But now, it's time to take another vital step to recognize the cultural diversity through the celebration of Lunar New Year as an official holiday. With almost 40% of our student population being Asian, this holiday holds significant cultural importance for many of our families, friends, and neighbors. By recognizing Lunar New Year, we honor the heritage and foster a more inclusive environment for all. Let's come together and embrace the diversity that we have in this city by acknowledging this holiday. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Churklai, 24 Clash Street. I am a parent of 2 children in the Quincy Public School. I also work in a different district in the schools, so I do understand the diversity and inclusion. I've been advocating for Lunar New Year for the past 3 years. I've been up here talking. I've gone the different route of sympathy, connections, immigrant, real estate, data, everything possible. And open forum was first, and then school committee makes their comment on why they don't support. So some comments come back as, why don't we make this as a city holiday? So we advocate, and we reach out to city council, mayor, and saying, can we make this a city holiday? And so city council responded and say, within their jurisdiction, to allow schools to close on Lunar New Year. And I was upset that on the agenda, that school committee is looking to find legal action against city council. Because what the city council mayor, along with mayor, they heard the population, they heard their constituents, they saw the population, they saw the feedback, everything is pointing, data is pointing that Lunar New Year should be celebrated. Everything we put in front of you is data. When all the students on National Honor Society, when they write their arguments or their paper or their thesis, they have to back it up. And everyone up here has data to back up that we should have Lunar New Year off. And yet, it has not been heard. So I'm asking you again to support City Council and also support Lunar New Year as a holiday. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Twee, and I live on 40 Huntley Road, Quincy, Mass. I have 3 children in Marymount Elementary School, and my husband, also a student, grew up and went through all the public school here. So good evening again, esteemed members of the Quincy School Committee in Maricopa. I want to start expressing my gratitude to Maricopa and the City Councilor, if you're here, for making Lunar New Year a holiday for all public school. This decision reflects our commitment to honoring and celebrating the rich cultural diversity within our community. I'm here today because I'm deeply concerned and upset by the recent discussion about using our taxpayer dollars to hire private legal counsel regarding the City Council vote to recognize Lunar New Year as a holiday. This is an unnecessary expenditure of our limited resources and undermines the decision made by our elected representatives who have already shown their support for this important recognition. Mr. Gutro, I've been to a lot of these meetings. You have suggested many times that the city should consider this issue so important the city should take action, and they have. They have precisely done that, and by voting in favor of the ordinance. It is disheartening to see that this committee contemplating legal opposition to decision that clearly reflects the will of our community and our leaders. And I hope today, when that item on the agenda, I hope you vote against it, because that's exactly what you mentioned in the past multiple times. Ms. Cahill, as the chair of diversity and inclusion, it's also upsetting that you will oppose this and then propose for a tax funding or taxpayer fund to contest this decision. And then in the past, you mentioned that you're concerned about parents needing to stay home on Lunar New Year. They have to take a day off, is understandable. But how is this any different from other holidays that we observe? Our school calendar already includes holidays that accommodate various cultural and religious observance, and adding Lunar New Year is a step towards further inclusivity. The decision to recognize Lunar New Year is a significant and positive step toward acknowledging and celebrating cultural diversity and that enrich our city. Rather than spending our precious resource on legal battles, let us focus on fostering an inclusive and supportive environment for all our students. Thank you for your time, and I sincerely hope you will reconsider this unnecessary and divisive use of taxpayer money. Let us move forward together, united in our commitment to diversity and inclusion. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay, so we'll conclude this portion of the open forum. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Superintendent.
Thank you, and good evening again, everyone. So under my superintendent's report, I'm just going to cover some upcoming Quincy Public Schools and City of Quincy events. The last few weeks of the school year are full of many celebration and events. Calendar invitations will be sent, of course, to the school committee. So please join us when your schedule permits. Tomorrow morning, 100 rising seniors from Quincy and North Quincy High School will gather at Granite Links for the annual Leadership Summit. That is a great event for our students. Tomorrow afternoon, the rescheduled middle school citywide spring track meet will be held at Faxon Field at 3:15 p.m. Tomorrow evening, the North Quincy High School Art Show will be held in the Atrium of Honor beginning at 5:30 p.m. and at 6 p.m. The All-City Jazz Band concert will be held in the Peter Chisholm Auditorium at North Quincy High School. Many schools are hosting observances for Memorial Day, including Beechwood Knoll, which is on Thursday, May 23rd, and Snug Harbor on Friday, May 24th, both at 9 a.m. The City of Quincy Memorial Day Parade will be held on Monday, May 27th at 10:30 a.m., beginning at the Quincy Credit Union and ending with a ceremony of remembrance at the Mount Wallison Cemetery. Thanks to Mayor Cope for once again hosting his annual breakfast for graduating seniors and their parents and guardians next week, Tuesday, May 28th at Quincy High School, and Wednesday, May 29th at North Quincy High School. The final citywide music program concert of the school year is the Symphonic and Pops Band concert on May 28th at 6 p.m. at Quincy High School. Our newest QPS families are invited to the Welcome to Kindergarten Parent Academy on Thursday, May 30th at 6 p.m. at Central Middle School to learn about the curriculum and learning opportunities for their students. The last English Learner Parent Advisory Council meeting of the school year will be held on Thursday, May 30th at 6 p.m. on Zoom, featuring a presentation on Quincy Recreation Department summer programming and welcoming new board members for the next school year. Point Webster and Clifford Marshall PTOs are hosting the annual Family Fun Run and Wellness Expo on Saturday, June 1st from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Point Webster Middle School Drama Club will present Jukebox Time Machine on Monday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. Quincy Public Schools will hold a Special Olympics event for students in grade 3 and up on Friday, June 7th at Creedon Field, followed by a picnic lunch thanks to the talents of the Quincy High School Culinary Arts students. Almost done. Graduation ceremonies will be held on Monday, June 10th for North Quincy High School and Tuesday, June 11th for Quincy High School, both at Veterans Stadium at 6 p.m. And lastly, the 73rd Annual Flag Day events will be held on Saturday, June 15th, with the parade beginning from in front of City Hall at 7 p.m., the flag raising at 8 p.m. at Pageant Field, and a fireworks display at 9 p.m. Many events, and we hope that you can make many, if not all. So thank you very much. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Next on the agenda, we have old business, the revision of policy book section 1019, the concussion policy. This item is up for discussion and up for a vote on June 12th. Mr. Gattro, any discussion?
Yeah, we discussed as we have been for the past.
Hold on, I don't know which one is you. Is
that one
you?
work?
There you go.
Yeah. We've been discussing updating the policy book, especially around health-related policies, and Mrs. Huart has been before us, and in some cases we make changes, some cases we make amendments, some cases we substitute to update, and we had a discussion. This is simply a substitution. It's a revision policy book, section 10.19, concussion policy. At policy committee, we read in detail what the new policy would look like. So I would like to make a motion that we cast an affirmative vote for the policy substitution. Oh, it would have to
no.
be at the June 12th meeting.
Yeah, we're going to move it to June 12th.
Understood.
Any other questions on that? We're good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next, we have Quincy Public School budget for FY 2025, Mr. Mullaney.
All right, thank you. Dr. Perkins and I will be going through our budget presentation that the superintendent's leadership team has put together for this current fiscal year. I think before I even start, I'd like to thank the mayor and the city council ahead of time. We are very lucky. You've read in the paper how many districts are cutting positions, trying for 2.5 overrides. We're getting an increase in our budget. There are no layoffs anywhere. And on top of that, we've fully funded the Richter Cristofaro Learning Center with a large number of staff to help our students going forward. So it's quite a nice budget to bring before you all. As you're all somewhat aware from the past, our process is to look with the SLT and the principals and teachers and find out areas of consideration. We review those areas for impact. We make priority decisions based on funding availability. We look to move or shift positions if possible, determine budget areas, present the options to the school committee, so that's what we're doing tonight. Then it's up to you folks in other meetings to go over the information, ask questions, make your priorities known to us. We'll then rework those options, and then we'll act upon those options. And then the final step would be going before the city council for review. As I said, it's a nice year for us because we're building a budget. The budget is $142,536,467. It's a 7.9% increase from the fiscal year 24 budget. Funding for this budget is going to be coming from 3 sources. The mayor's appropriation of $134,186,467, a $6.65 million increase, or 5.21% over the prior year's appropriation. Additionally, we're expecting $7.35 million in circuit breaker reimbursements, so that's an increase of $250,000 over the final year. And we plan on using ESSA 3 funding. We have funds available to us through September 30th, and we're looking at redirecting about $1 million worth of funding. And it'll be used to maintain district operations, which was one of the allowable expenses that we could make. This is separate from the $500,000 that we already have set aside in ESSA funding for the summer program. So we're not taking anything away from the summer programs. This is something that's going to sunset September 30th, and we're trying to take advantage of it to help out the budget in certain areas. The $146 million, the 130, I can't even see that now. That's, I think the file might have become corrupted when it was emailed. What this graph shows is the total educational funding for the city of Quincy. The final column, 2025, it's $134,186,467. In addition to that, in the city's budget, there's $78,145,362 for expenses that the city pays for the schools. Principally, the largest would be the health insurance, retirement, and then also bond funding, interest, and principal payments. So in total, payments in the budget this year is $212,331,886. $829 that can be earmarked, can be singled out specifically for the schools, which is just a little bit over 50% of the entire budget. The next, and again, this is the net school spending. The blue line represents the foundation budget, or the blue column. For this year, the state is saying that we should have a foundation budget of $167,806,909. And the the red bars on the bottom is the Chapter 70 funding. And as we discussed earlier with the SOA, we get very little funding for education from the state government. We had a $300,000 increase, so we went from $45,107,000 to $45,401,000. While they said our foundation budget has to go up $3 million, we only assisted with $300,000. The next school spending, this is the per pupil spending that they say we have to fund, and as you can see, the red line above that is the actual school spending, so per pupil. So last year, it was $16,888. This year, and what we were actually spent was $18,934. I'll make sure you all get copies of the file here. I don't know what happened to these. Okay. So the superintendent's leadership team's budget recommendations. We started with the last year's budget amount, $134,639,000. We added in negotiated increases of $6.2 million. So projected level services would need $140,870,000. Our offsets circuit breaker 7.35, ESSA funding $1 million, and we're anticipating salary savings of $792,000 from retirements. So that's a $9,142,000. So we'd need an appropriation of $131,728,149. Our actual appropriation from the city, as proposed by the mayor, is $134,186,467. So that leaves us $2.45 million to build on our budget. Principally, as you'll see, a lot of this is going to the Christopher Learning Center. And
thank you. So this is just a reminder for the public of the school committee's class size guidance. So you can see that in K to 3, our classes, according to the school committee guidance, range from do not exceed 22 to 26, 4 to 8, 24 to 28, 9 to 12. If we go over 30, we are required to inform the school committee. I will say, thanks to the support of the school committee and the mayor, we never even really come close to these numbers. We have absolutely amazing class sizes in Quincy. And so as we move into the actual budget and the work that we do on the budget, just to remind people what we take into consideration as we are planning our budget for FY25. So the first question that we ask ourselves is, does the budget allow us to maintain or increase existing academic classroom teacher staff? We ask ourselves, is there a need to reduce or increase our academic classroom teaching staff at any and all levels? That includes pre-K, middle school, high school, where changes in academic classroom teacher staff due to things like retirements or resignations, leave of absence, changes in grant funding, all of those different items are taken into consideration. We look at the projected enrollment at each of our schools in the staffing of the academic classrooms for the next upcoming school year. And we also look at whether or not our class sizes are potentially going to exceed the current school committee guidelines at any and all levels. So what you'll see here, although I just want to clarify, as Jim said, we are very fortunate, thanks to the mayor and the school committee, that we have a budget where we are not cutting teachers this year. But we are, as you can see here, reallocating. So as we looked at things like retirements, when we could make a shift in a position, we did. And so although it does say that we are decreasing 2 academic classroom teachers here, we are not actually decreasing 2 academic classroom teachers. We are shifting positions to address other needs. So for instance, a teacher's retiring in a school where the enrollment has gone down a bit, and so they no longer need us to fill that position. We're moving that position to where there's another need. So we did, because we were really trying to work with what we had, to maintain all of the services and the awesome things that we have in Quincy. It's a big puzzle, and we have moved around, quite a few positions, which you'll see within the budget. So it does say that we're decreasing 2 academic classroom teachers. We are not actually decreasing 2 academic teachers. We are reallocating 2 classroom teachers to different positions where there's a greater need. So in terms of academic programs, these are I'm not going to read them all to you, but these are the areas that we consider academic programs, and you'll see we added a new category there, which is the Richter Cristofaro Learning Center. So in terms of academic programs, some of the questions that we ask as we plan the budget is, does the FY25 budget allow us to maintain or increase existing academic programs and staffing? Were there any changes in the academic program staff, as I said earlier, due to retirements, resignations, leave of absences, things like that? And have we considered a reduction in force within the academic program area? Fortunately, we do not have to do that. And so this is where you'll see the majority of our shifts went here. A lot of our focus was on making sure the Learning Center was appropriately staffed. And so there is 2 positions at the beginning that were reconciled in October that are listed here, although those were reconciled early in the year. We are increasing an FTE art teacher for the RDLC. As I think I've spoken with you all before in the past, if a student is at the Richard DeCristofaro Learning Center, we do need to provide art, music, and gym to those students as well, just like we would to any of our other students. And so you'll see there might be a little bit of a different twist, because like in the area of music, it's a music therapist. But there we are planning on having an art teacher. We did see an increase in our EL population across the board, and so some of the shifts that we've made in the decreases in academic classroom size have the 2 positions that I spoke of earlier have been reconciled and moved and adjusted to become additional EL teachers. And those are actually at the middle school, at Central Middle School is one, at the elementary school, a split position, and then also at Southwest Middle School. And so then we have the 2 literacy teachers. Those are actually, Mr. Mullaney refers to them as literacy teachers because they're all kind of in the same bucket in the budget, but they're actually the math interventionists that were in the ESSER. Those were one of the few positions that were actually in the ESSER funds. And then, as I mentioned, a music therapist at the RDLC, an adaptive physical education teacher at the RDLC, 7 special education teachers at the RDLC, and 2 speech and language pathologists at the RDLC. So as you can see, the majority of our effort went into making sure that we have appropriate support for our students who will be attending the Richter Cristofaro Learning Center. And so the next slide is academic support, and these are some of the areas that we take a look at for academic support. I'm not going to read them again to you, but you can see what they are. And then again, some of the questions, similar questions that we ask as we look at academic support. Do we need to maintain or increase existing support staff? Were there any changes that we need to consider in the academic support staff? And do we need to consider a reduction in force? And again, thankfully, we do not. And so these are some of the academic supports. Again, a lot is going to the RDLC. So we have a guidance counselor for the RDLC, a nurse, 2 occupational therapists, And the secretary that was placed, there was IT clerical support, which is our IT technicians, were in the ESSER funds, again, at one of the few positions that was in there, and so we are now moving them into our budget. There were 2 coordinators that were also being funded with ESSER funds that we're moving or recommending moving, and then the principal for the RDLC, and the paraprofessionals, again, for the RDLC. One of the other few positions that we had in the ESSER funds were our family liaisons, which we feel are instrumental to us at Quincy Public Schools. They do an amazing job and they work so hard with our families, and so we are recommending that we move them into the budget for next year. And then we did eliminate, these 2 lines were eliminated. So the special education work study line, which is $5,000, was eliminated. We haven't used that line in years and years. And I've been around a while and I'm not even really sure why it's there. So we felt pretty confident that we could eliminate that. And we also were able to eliminate some funding for salary increases, about $100,000. So all of this we've taken together to put together our budget.
Next comes the non-academic support. Again, it's a list of many different areas. The changes that we're making in this, again, look to those same 3 questions. Can we maintain or increase? Do we need to change it, or do we need a reduction in force? And the changes that we're looking for, we're looking to increase 1.5 custodial staff positions to the RDLC. So that's 1.5 positions. We're going to increase the charge back to food service for custodians. There's, as we'll talk about later on with the food service, again, everything is the Massachusetts has the free school lunch for all, or meals for all students. And there's a significant amount of income generated in that fund that we can use to offset some of the expenses like the custodial services. We had a $100,000 offset. We're moving that up to $400,000, so that frees up $300,000 to put in other areas. We're increasing a security staff member at RDLC. We're looking to increase 3 security positions that will replace previously funded in the ESSER funds. During COVID, we increased the staffing there. And we're going to increase 2 positions, lunch attendant positions at the RDLC. So that's a total of 7.5 positions, a net cost of $32,298. Subsidized services, typically there's 4, and food services really doesn't work like a revolving account anymore. A lot of it is kind of out of our hands to determine the amount we can pay and charge, because it's nothing, it's free. But what we do is when we look at all the subsidized services, we look, can we use these areas to subsidize the budget? Can we increase fees to cut the expenses that we have in our budget to support our budget? Do we look to decrease the fees to make it easier for the people and students who use these services? First is food service. Massachusetts now has universal free school lunch. In 2023, they mandated it so that all students who attend and participate in the National School Lunch Program will get 1 free lunch and 1 free breakfast each day. So we're recommending to maintain free school lunch program for all and not have any cost. This is just a breakdown of the 2023 and the projected 2024 expenditures. So again, it's a very healthy fund. And that's why we feel we can charge back some of those items. So our recommendation is, current is 0. The minimum required by the federal government is not applicable anymore because it's fully funded, so we recommend we keep it at 0. School building rentals, this program looks, the fees are set by the school committee. As you can see, COVID kind of changed a lot of all of these fundings. There's a whole lot less rentals now. And additionally, we had an increase in cost due to negotiated increase. So as you can see, these actual 23 and projected 24, these are running at a deficit now. So we're actually recommending that we increase the user fees for the buildings The current is a youth rate of $40, a Quincy adult rate of $55, and a outside rental of $75, plus there's a 10% administrative fee. We're recommending that we raise those to $50 per hour for Quincy youth, $75 for Quincy adults, and $100 for all outside rentals. Transportation, we pretty much stopped during COVID charging anybody anything. We don't charge for regular transportation, and we haven't been charging for field trips. There is very little that we're taking in now because of that. It's running, we'll be able to maintain for a while, but I think we'd have to address next year whether we'd want to change any of the fees for this structure. And again, currently, we're charging $25 an hour for a QPS trip when we charge, and we haven't been charging since COVID began, with $1.50 mileage, and $35 for an outside rental with $3 per mile. And we're recommending we don't change any of those fees. Athletics, again, policy, the fees are set by this board. This is one, again, from COVID, we have less revenues coming in. This was one that we looked at because I know there's been talk and discussion about trying to get this down without charging fees to increase our budget on these line items. But with the amounts that we're going to the RDLC, we're recommending that we keep for this year the athletic user fees the same, which is $100 for a sport, $150 for football and lacrosse, and $300 for hockey, with a family maximum of $750. Going into academic expenses, again, a listing of them. We looked, do we need to increase or shift funding? And then this is one area we look to shift funding. We're decreasing the translation services. As you know, we've had $500,000 in there in the last 2 years. We've had a surplus in it. We've shifted it to take care of other deficits. So we're recommending we cut this line by $200,000. We're going to increase funding for supplies for the IDLC to $12,000. Increase text and learning for the IDLC, $7,500. And we're going to increase the funding for software, $60,000 for the IDLC, and $120,500 for to replace ESSA funding. And this is something that is continually growing in number, and we feel it was a good chance to, with the shifts, to get additional funding in, because we spend significantly more than is budgeted in our budget for that. Non-academic expenses, again, a whole list. Questions, can we shift and what have you? So we're recommending increasing funding for natural gas for the IDLC, electricity for the IDLC, and funding for telephone and internet for the IDLC, a total of $118,400. So overall, the summary of the additional $2.45 million is here. Breakdown academic classroom teachers, that's shifting. Net 2 positions, reductions for $130,000. Academic programs, that large list of mostly RDLC, 15 positions, $1,034,178. Academic support, 22.7 positions, $1,403,442. Non-academic support, 7.5 positions for a net of $32,298. Expenses, academic, no change in that because of shifting, and an increase in non-academic expenses, $118,400. And that's the breakdown of the funding that we received in excess of level services. And here's the total breakdown of the 2.45 we had, and the total increase of the $7.896 million increase in our budget. And here, if you have any questions, if you want to talk.
Thank you. Obviously, I'll have more questions later, but at a first glance. So taking the 200,000 from the translation services, is that still going to leave us enough money in that line item to cover our phone translation that we have with that service that has the translators on the other line that we're using? That I can't remember
So-
the name off the top of my head, but yeah.
It will leave us the language line. We'll have enough to fund the language line. We also have been using SMORE for written translation, so that's still in there. So all of the things we didn't use, and I think, we've talked about this before. We left it in there for the past few years because we weren't sure. We hadn't had the family liaisons before. We hadn't had all these different things, so we weren't really sure how much that was going to be needed, and we didn't want to not have enough. And so we did, at the time, put $500,000 into that line, and over the past few years, we haven't even come close to that. So we do think that we are fine.
Okay, and on the lines that say replace ESSER funding, does this replace all in this budget, or is there still going to be other positions that we're still going to need to find funding for coming forward? Or is this replaces all ESSER funding positions that we have in the budget? Excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you. I just am so grateful that we were able to staff the Learning Center. We made a commitment to build that Learning Center. We did it beautifully. It's a wonderful space, and having enough staff there to really make that work is so important. So I'm really glad we were able to do that. And I'm so glad that we limited the ESSER funds using for staff, because so many districts are in serious trouble right now because of that. And I think we were really smart about it. Everybody on this committee was smart about that. The SLT was smart about it, and it was important to us. I'm also so grateful that the family liaisons, the math interventionists, and the security people are going to be able to stay into. I think they have made, the family liaisons have made a significant impact.
Absolutely.
And so have the math interventionists we've seen. So I think
Definitely.
that's just wonderful that they're there. I certainly would like to add a few other things, but I'm really happy with this. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Try that. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for presenting everything tonight to us. I haven't, obviously, we just got this tonight, so I haven't had a chance to go through the actual budget line by line, but a couple questions I also shared in Ms. Hubley's concern about the translation services. I'm just wondering if there's any other services that are needed. I know we're good on what we we brought us to this point with the SMORE in the language line, the translation line, which is fantastic. I'm just wondering if maybe we should maybe do another survey to families and just find out if there's any other weaknesses in our system where maybe we do need additional translation services. I know I'm thinking in general PTOs could use a little support in trying to get their message out to families as well. So if there's any way of being able to support PTOs in translating their materials as well. I know Superintendent Mulvey mentioned the Clifford Marshall Point Webster Family Fun Run. It's hard to get that information to families in a translated way. So that would be great if we could just make sure that there's no other needs that we have before we kind of decrease that.
And I would say too, like the SMORE account that we have, which we have for all of our schools, I would highly recommend that the PTOs use that. And if people need help with that, we can absolutely help them because that does translate automatically. And so I think that's like a really great resource for like the fun run advertisement. We actually, the CPAC uses it to send out all their stuff. So I can, if someone needs that, a PTO needs that, we have that. So we can help with that.
That would be
So,
great. Maybe
yeah.
at Citywide PTO, we could get that information out. And also just, again, at first glance, the, in your highlights here, it has an increase of one security staff for the RDLC. And is there only going to be one security staff or is it just, okay. And do you feel that that's enough?
I do, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Guttrow?
Yeah, I just want to say that we have a June 6th meeting to talk about the budget, do a deeper dive on it. But for 14 years, I sat in these seats as a city councilor and I had the opportunity through that lens to look at the school budget. And it was an incredible experience. But for the last 6 years, to have the opportunity to do the deep dive, to get the presentation, to understand how it all is operational and how everything is so beneficial right down into the classroom has been an extraordinary experience for me. I mean, I do have some questions in the budget. I'm going to save them. But I just look at this through the lens of gratitude from where I came from and the generosity of the mayor and the council to the schools over the years and the opportunity as a member of the school committee to kind of effectuate the budget and see what it does on the ground. So.
Mayor Koch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You're doing a great job with the mics. For the public, you know, the names aren't the same because we're in the council chamber. I wanted a couple of comments. I know we'll get into some of the details as we meet in subcommittee and committee as a whole. But I'd like you to dig down a little bit more for the public. The DeChristopher Learning Center is, first of all, an incredible idea that has come to fruition. I think we're the only municipality in Massachusetts that are doing this for our kids with autism. And I know I talked a lot about it's going to save us money, and it's going to save us money over time. But talk a little bit about how there are kids that are in outplacement now that are comfortable where they are. So not necessarily going to pull out of something to come back here, but as our kids go up through the system, you're going to see a big increase. And can you talk a little bit about that, Erin?
I can, yes. So, like for instance, right now, we have somewhere in the vicinity of about 15 students that are progressing on to elementary school that are on our CARES program that we would be looking at to potentially send to an out-of-district placement. Whether it happened next year or the year after, it was probably more than likely going to happen. So when you think about that, if we send them to the collaborative, which is probably one of the more reasonable out-of-district placements, just for the tuition alone, for one student, we would pay somewhere in the vicinity of $70,000, and that doesn't include the summer program. And and then that also doesn't include transportation, which is almost as much as the tuition sometimes. And so, so when you look at that, whereas when we keep our kids in Quincy, not only is it awesome for our families and our community, we can, with that $70,000, we can have a teacher and, 2 students that we don't send out. We have a teacher and all of the paraprofessionals, so it doesn't seem like it initially because it is the upfront, cost of staffing the building. But, 2 or 3 students that don't end up going out can save the district potentially, $500,000, something like that, maybe even more. The tuitions are extremely expensive, and the transportation, as we all know, is out of control, the cost. So that doesn't even include the therapists and all the other pieces that come along, and as I said, the summer program. So, I think that those are the things that we look at, and, we have students in the district that we knew that this program was coming, and so we were holding on to these students and really, trying to work with these families and these kiddos because we did not want to send them out and then turn around and say, now come back. We've been gone for a year and now come back here. So, I think, I know you all know how passionately I feel about it. I think it's an amazing, the mayor is correct. There is no other place like it in the state of Massachusetts. There are other public day schools, maybe for students with social emotional learning needs, maybe for students with autism. But the fact that the city dedicated a building and then made it state of the art. Oftentimes you'll go to see a public separate day or something like that, and it's in the corner of a building, or it's maybe been a little rehabbed but not much. And it's not designed for students with autism or for students with special education needs. This building was designed right from jump for students with autism, and that's what makes this so special. I don't know if you want me to say more. I could go on all night.
No, I appreciate the enthusiasm. I just want to make the point to the public that this is going to save the city money over time.
Yes.
More importantly, we're keeping our kids home in their own community. So I think that's important to mention. And I should also mention that we should thank our federal delegation because we used a lot of ARPA money on that project, which is tremendous. Switching gears, I caught the youth group charge for the rentals going up. Now, that's one I struggle with. When we look at our school buildings, they're built and paid for by the taxpayers. these kids are the same kids that are in our classrooms during the day. You know, we talk a lot about the drug abuse issue. One of the biggest things we can do is prevention. We should do everything we can to keep the kids busy with wholesome activities, including recreational things. So I have a problem on the youth increase, and I'll get into that, I guess, when we get into the specific discussions. Part two, on the athletic side in general. Let me ask you a question. Do kids that join band, do they pay a fee?
They do not know.
Okay. Kids in clubs, do they pay a fee?
Some of them have small fees, but it's not a fee to a system.
Do kids in drama pay a fee?
No.
Okay. Why are we charging our athletes fees? I think there's a real equity issue here. And I know we waive fees for those kids that can't swing it, but I do think we should be looking at that, and I will look for the appropriate funding to cover that. Maybe it's not this year, but maybe it's next year we try to achieve that going down the road. The other question I would have is the gate receipt versus the fees in the budget. Is the gate receipt?
Gate receipt is a lot smaller now than it was because of COVID.
Yeah.
And you see it at the games. There's just not as many people attending the games. We're hoping that does pick up. You know, it used to be the football games would generate an awful lot of money, the hockey games and
Sure.
the basketball games, and now the attendance is down an awful lot in those. And again, it's a situation where we don't charge a large fee for our students because we want them there too. I mean, these are all areas that, you know, if the funding was not an issue, we'd do it. And, you know, I think the fees went up one time when we were in 2008 in a very tough situation where we leaned heavily on these revolving funds and increased the fees because the money wasn't available for other
Okay.
items.
I know we'll get into this in more detail later, but those are some of the things that I had some immediate reaction to. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Bergoli?
A quick question. The RDLC, is that down the road going to be opened up to outside communities so that we can benefit from making money from outside placements that they would send to us?
Yes, if there's space available, but at some point, we probably will need to talk about what the committee would like to charge for tuition.
A lot.
We're, as you know, we're members of the Social Educational Collaborative, and there are 10 other.
Hold on. Hey, use mine.
Thank you. There are 10 other superintendents who are on there surrounding South Shore towns, and they're already calling us and asking if we have room to send their students to Quincy because of, obviously, travel expenses. It's closer for some of these communities, Braintree, Weymouth, Randolph even reached out. So obviously, we'll prioritize our students, but certainly if there's room for tuitioning students in, we'll certainly look at that, but that also goes to the mayor's position of cost effectiveness. Obviously, we would have to set the tuition rates, but that would be something that would benefit the city, the school department financially as well by accepting the tuitions from these students, space provided.
The RDLC has benefits for our students in the short and long term, but it also could benefit the city financially going forward.
Anyone else? No. Okay, thank you, and I'm sure we'll be delving into this as we go forward. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the request for funding for outside legal counsel brought forward by Mr. Bergoli, Mrs. Cahill, Mrs. Hubley, and Mrs. Lebo. Mrs. Lebo?
Thank you, Mrs. Cahill. I want to make a motion around concerns I have about the city council meeting on May 20th. I am asking for approval to seek independent legal counsel and, if necessary, funding to request an opinion on the city council's authority to vote on or override any official school committee business as stated in the city charter.
Okay, a second to the motion. Mrs. Hubley, any discussion?
On the motion? Thank you. Am I on? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the motion, and I also appreciate that every elected official here and the city council are independently elected. And they respond to their constituents. You respond to your constituents as I do on a particular issue. The city council very, very infrequently, in fact, in my tenure as mayor, I don't know that they've ever delved in anything but support to the school system. You go through all the budgets in recent years, every appropriation I put before them, they have approved. Every bond issue, and we'll get one coming up for the new Squantum Elementary School, on our 5th school, they supported every step of the way with minimum questions. If there's any questions at all, it's usually clarification. So they've been a huge partner with this committee in providing the best in education for the kids of the city, both with facilities, but also with adequate budgets. And it was described by the team with some of the challenges some of the communities are facing around us. So we're fortunate that we don't have to make those tough decisions. So, I'm going to vote against the motion. I respect others that want to see it. Regardless of that outcome, I think, certainly my position, and I got a dual role here because I indicate I'm signing the ordinance with the council, and of course wearing the hat here as chair of the school committee. I think out of respect for the wishes of the unanimous vote of the city council and all the support they have given to us over the years, I think we should really look at that, think about that, because if I'm sitting on the council and we get down this road, I'd be looking at cutting budgets. And that's the game I don't want to get into between the bodies. We see too much of that in DC between the various levels of government and different bodies of government battling. I don't want to see that. Again, I respect the folks here. I wish you 4 members would consider looking at the calendar once again and responding to the public along that way. But as far as the vote goes specifically, I will be voting in opposition. The budget is good this year, but I don't think we have a lot of money to play around with, and I'd rather not spend it on outside counsel. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. Perdius.
So I just first want to start with an acknowledgement that a very real consequence of us going further down this path with this proposal before us, whether intended or not, is the message that we're sending to our Asian American students and their families. For those of you bringing this item forward tonight, although for you, I understand it's more about policy and procedure and control and separation of powers, but for them, for our students and our families, they're seeing us not only ignore a unanimous vote from all 9 city councilors, they're watching us discuss taking legal action to again stop them from having this holiday off with their families. And this is personal to them, and I thank them for advocating continuously for having this holiday off. And the situation we're finding ourselves in right here, right now, is not something that I'm comfortable with and not something that I'm very proud of. That said, I do want to speak a little bit about this proposal that's before us tonight. I do feel like it's asking us to jump way too far ahead in this process. If we do want to have a discussion about who has authority here, I think that the discussion to spend public money out of our school budget on an outside legal counsel should only come after we've exhausted every other avenue. I personally don't have any background or experience in legal matters, but we do have a city lawyer, Solicitor Jim Timmons. We have 2 bodies in the city that have made opposite decisions on this issue. I think we need to start by asking Solicitor Timmons to read over the city charter and all related state laws and issue us a written decision on whether or not the city council has the authority to override a vote of the school committee on the issue of the school calendar. I don't think we should consider spending a dime out of our school budget on legal fees until we get that written response from Solicitor Timmons. I can only think of 3 responses that he would give. 1, the city council has the authority to do so, so we then have to amend the calendar to include Lunar New Year. The second possibility is that the city council does not have the authority, so the calendar that we voted on stands. Or a third option, the city charter and the state laws are unclear. And if that's the case, then we can ask Solicitor Timmons to list the options available to us and give us his professional opinion on how we can resolve the problem. Voting to expend public money on outside legal counsel at this point before we've gotten a legal opinion from our own city lawyer, and when we have no estimate on how much outside counsel will cost, no clear plan of where in the school budget we'll take it from, seems premature to me. I can't in good conscience vote for a blank check for legal fees that may end up spiraling out of control if it winds up with us taking legal action against the school committee, against the city council. The cost of that could be exorbitant, and I don't want to vote on that until we have a specific number and a place that we're going to cut in the school budget, the four people bringing this forward, where they would suggest we cut from. So I'm advocating that we table this discussion right here about finding outside legal counsel, funding outside legal counsel, start a conversation with Solicitor Timmons, and then go from there. Thank you.
So is the only, first of all, is the only person that served on both the city council and the school committee, I've got a unique vantage point. As somebody that, as a city councilor, voted on 14 school budgets in good times and in bad times, you know, I have a unique vantage point. I am grateful as a city councilor, when I was, for the opportunity to vote on school budgets, and I am proud this day of everything that the city council does to vote for capital investments for our school budgets. I really believe the schools, and I've had an opportunity now for the last 6 years to see through a different lens, really what that money does on the ground in the school system, not just through the lens of my children, but as a member of the school committee. So I think I have a pretty unique role. And I also have an understanding, I think, of the roles and responsibilities of both the school committee and the city council. So I just have a few things that I want to say. This school committee, of course, had a discussion about the calendar several months back. We had testimony, open forum. We had a discussion. Everybody heard the testimony and the positions of folks at that moment. We cast a vote. The calendar was set, as it has been for decades and decades and decades before that. School committee votes on the calendar. So in early May, I read with interest when the city council proposed an ordinance to create a citywide holiday for Lunar New Year, providing both municipal as well as school employees, students and their families with a legal holiday. And there was testimony tonight about my comments to that effect, that if we value the Asian culture and we want to make it a city holiday, why not make it a city holiday? So the city council took it up to make it a city holiday. And so, you know, and I know that Suffolk County in the past obviously voted for evacuation day. If you live in Suffolk County, you get March 17th off, that's evacuation day. And they have the opportunity to take that off. So, and I think for the folks that testified tonight, if I asked for a show of hands, how many people would support a citywide holiday for Lunar New Year, my sense is that most, if not all, of the hands would go up in the room, that they would say that that's the right thing to do. So I watched the May 6th Ordinance Committee meeting of the City Council after the fact, because I heard what transpired, and that a change was made at the Ordinance Committee from a vote, and I have a copy of the original ordinance. The original ordinance says a vote for a citywide holiday. But a change was made at the Ordinance Committee meeting that it would amend it to simply be a school holiday. And I watched it. It was a 45-minute meeting. If you weren't there or didn't see it, I encourage you to look at it. So the rationale stated was the advice of the solicitor is that the city council doesn't have the authority to create a citywide holiday. And, you know, in my experience, the solicitor comes, the solicitor testifies, the solicitor provides a written opinion. And Madam Vice Chair, do you have a written opinion on whether or not the city council can provide a citywide holiday? Have we seen a written opinion?
From the solicitor?
Yeah.
No, we have not.
So, and I watched that meeting, and no member of the body appeared to pass out any written opinion. And what struck me was that nobody on the city council asked a question. Why don't we have the legal, you know, if not us, then who? If not us, the city council, then who has the authority? Nobody asked that question of the city council. And I think back to the time that I served on the city council, and you all know the personalities that served in my time and the questions that would have been asked around that question. So I was a little bit struck by that. That was my initial reaction. And frankly, I'm still curious. I would like to see the legal citation on why the city council does not have the authority to make a holiday, one way or the other. And then it was unclear to me who advised the council had the legal authority to override the school committee to set the school calendar. That was unclear. And to date, this school committee has not received, and I don't know if the council received anything in writing, citing the charter, laws, state law, whatever the case may be, that what gives them the authority to override the city council. I haven't seen anything in writing. So I'd like to see that written opinion as well. I did take an opportunity over the past week to read the charter. It's pretty dry. I didn't see any authority there, but I'm not a lawyer. So, and the other thing that was troubling to me, and you know, over the course of my 21 years, is being an elected official is all about relationships and the relationships that you create. You know, every vote that we take can be contentious. And somewhere, a decision to amend the citywide ordinance, which I don't think the school committee collectively would have objected to, somewhere, a motion, there was a discussion, I imagine, that said that there was legal authority to override the school committee. You know, there was no written proof, there was no testimony, there was no discussion about what that would be. And no one picked up the phone and called the vice chair of the school committee from the city council to say, let me let you know, I had a discussion with the solicitor, we're modifying it, and it's based on this rationale that we think that we have the jurisdiction, the authority to do so. So I think my colleagues and I would find that disappointing and perhaps disrespectful, that you don't pick up the phone and call and say, let me tell you something, we've been given legal advice that says we don't have the authority to do this, here's the legal advice, but we have the authority to do that. And then it obviously made those of us in the school committee wonder what else is within the city council's purview. You know, I don't know, you know, for them. What make it, you know, the charter makes it clear that the purchase of property for school use requires a city council vote. So the vice chair did what anybody would do. They asked their trade association, the Mass Association of School Committees, if this is something that they've heard of. And the Mass Association of School Committees provided her with kind of a summary. She then, as soon as she got the summary, emailed it to the city council, advising them to hold off on the vote until we got more clarification, explanation on legal authority. I did not watch the vote on Monday. I don't know. I know that all of the councilors received that. I don't know if anybody acknowledged receipt of that, Madam Vice Chair, receiving the school committee correspondence. But regardless of your request, they again voted and did not call or ask for an explanation. That troubles me. That troubles me. Why would you not pick up the phone and discuss it when a colleague and a sister body says, we've learned that there could be issues here. You can hold it for 2 weeks so that we can have a discussion and get some legal clarification on it. They could have provided any written opinions on whether or not they have the authority on the school calendar. So that's what's at the heart of my thinking right now. The process that we just went through to get to where we are. So the question is, I would love to see something in writing that explains the legal authority of the city council. It would have been nice to have that discussion as two sister bodies before the city council went and voted. So to me, it feels like they're not leaving the school committee with much of an option, and all the resolution is asking for a legal opinion of somebody that has some expertise as to whether or not that's the case. I'll leave it at that.
Mrs. Lebo?
I want to reiterate what Mr. Guttrow said. The city council has worked for years. I've been on the school committee a long time, and they have worked for years and years collaboratively with us. And I have no problems with the city council and their work. I'm proud of all of them, and even Mr. Guttrow when he was on there. Really, I think it's amazing. What we're talking about here, we are not trying to sue the city council. We're not suing them. We are simply asking for a legitimate expert advice on whether or not this type of maneuver is legal. Because if this maneuver is legal, lots of stuff could be happening from the city council side on the school committee side, which would affect all the administrators, all the teachers. We don't know what the next thing coming down the road might be. And I don't think they're looking for stuff like that, but you just don't know. If enough constituents get to them and say they want something else to happen, that maybe other people don't want to happen, I just think we need to get a clarity on what is in our purview and what is in theirs. That's all. We need it. And we're not going to cost millions of dollars. I think we could probably ask Mr. Mullaney what a legal opinion with research and just an opinion might cost as an attorney. We have money in our legal line. I think Mr. Mullaney is still here. Mr. Mullaney is still here. May I ask Mr. Mullaney that question? Jim, do you know offhand how much money we have left in our legal line?
There's $20,999.70.
He knows exactly. And I don't know, Mr. Mulvey, if you'd be comfortable saying what that might cost?
It's difficult to say on that. It would be probably a flat fee, but my guesstimate would be not to exceed $5,000.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just, I feel pretty strongly about the future of the school committee, the future of the city council, and the future of the city, and not just for us, but this is precedent setting across the state. If this can happen, this is really precedent setting. So I really think it's important that we just get the opinion. I'm not trying to sue anybody. It might be perfectly legal what they did, and then we'll know, and we can adjust and move on.
Mayor?
Not to be argumentative, nor to defend the city council, I just want to make a couple of comments in light of Mr. Guttrow's. And we certainly can get the city solicitor to provide some of that to us. As I understand the process, it was quickly learned that the city of Quincy cannot declare a citywide holiday under state law. We have no authority. Keep in mind, even the charter, we're an entity of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so there's certain restrictions under the law that we can and cannot do. Part two, to be, and Councilor Guttrow would know this better, the city council is the legislative body for the city. Mayor serves as chief executive with the executive side, and the city council legislative body. And one of their roles is to enact ordinances, which is local laws. Now, when we adopt the calendar, we don't come up and make up dates. We're adopting federal and state holidays in that calendar. The city council voted to make that a local holiday for a day off in the school system to observe it. I think that's where they're coming from. Now, I don't think this has been tested, and I'm sure Solicitor Timmons are going to look at the case law on this going forward, and he'll give us some guidance on it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
I mean, it would be. Is that on? It would be great to have Jim Timmons come before us, because I don't, as a member of the school committee, if we're going to get second guessed every single time by the city council, I want to know what the council has the authority on, and they can hold the public hearings. They can deal with some of those issues. I mean, we can talk about it and debate it and discuss it, but it seems like a very silly process if they have the ultimate authority on certain things. I think it's very important for the school committee to understand the distinction of responsibilities and of powers, and what those issues are. And if it's better suited to be before the city council, then why wasn't this matter before the city council 3 years ago? You know, why wasn't this matter before the city council 3 years ago and they could have dealt with it? Why did they put it before the school committee? Why did we collect all this testimony? Why did we have discussion? Why did we put surveys out if this was a city council issue? And so I want to know what else that we deal with should they be dealing with? And that's part of the legal opinion. That's part of what the legal opinion is, so that we're not duplicating effort and getting into a intercity squabble. We don't want that. Nobody on the school committee wants that. We just want a little bit of clarity of roles and responsibilities and where things stand, and just use one single forum to have the public testimony and the public vote, and we'll all get behind it, you know?
So it seems to me like getting some information, some response from Solicitor Timmons seems to be the way to go and not take this vote tonight.
Well, it should have came before.
So I think that we still have another school committee meeting. We can move that vote to the next one, and that will give us time to get some type of documentation or opinion from Solicitor Timmons, give him some time to look over that. Our next meeting is June 12th. It seems like we could take that vote then and hold off. I did have a question on the legal line item in our budget, the $20,000 that's left. If we do not spend that, we typically would reallocate that to some other place in the budget, right, that we may have a deficit? So that could potentially go to classroom teachers, student support, programming, adjustment counselors, mental health services, translations, any of this stuff. So we could move that $20,000 for another purpose for our students, right? Sorry.
That's the remainder for this year. It's not next year's budget. That money would have to be spent this year. So what we typically do is we look at if they cover a deficit, which we're in very good shape for, we use it to cobble together a bunch of money and maybe buy Chromebooks or something like that, or return it to the city.
Right. So that money doesn't go to waste if we don't use it on legal fees, right? That goes back to our schools, back to the school system. So I think, I don't feel the need to have to spend that $20,000 on it. I would much rather that money go toward our students and our staff. And I think that we can get this opinion from Solicitor Timmons, hold off on that vote till June 12th. And I don't see a problem with doing that.
Okay, thank you. Just from my perspective, this is not about Lunar New Year. Unfortunately, you guys came and gave your testimony, and we've heard it before. We did deliberate as a school committee. We voted on the school calendar, and the city council took a vote to override that or to create their own holiday. My issue here is the two bodies, city council, school committee, city charter. What are our roles? What are our responsibilities? And I suggest, and I would appreciate getting outside legal counsel, it's a minimal cost, to understand the two roles and how they are supposed to work together without stepping on each other's responsibilities and roles. If they come back and say, city council is all set, they were working within their purview, then that's the direction we go in. But for right now, I move to take a vote on seeking independent legal counsel and the necessary funding for the independent legal counsel. Mr. Begoli.
On the question, years ago, school committee authority was decimated by ed reform. And our authority was undermined. And in essence, what is happening with what the city council did with their vote was doing the same thing. They're undermining our authority. This is about separation of powers, nothing else. That's what it's about. What is our authority, and what can we do and what can they do? And we want an opinion on it.
So since this is the first time this is before this body, I'd like to object to this and have this sit on this until the next meeting.
Point of parliamentary procedure. Through you to the superintendent. Is that on?
No.
Through you to the superintendent. Superintendent. Is that on?
Yep.
Through you to the superintendent. I don't know if that's on or not. It's not on? Is that one on? No?
Try.
Go ahead again. Testing? Yeah. Through you to the superintendent. This was a point of parliamentary procedure. And I've dealt with objections scores of times when I was on the city council. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Superintendent, but an objection can be made when an item is on for the first time, assuming there's not been any discussion or debate. You have to object to it right out of the box when it's on the agenda, and it will lay on the table. But if the discussion ensues, the motion and the vote must take place.
That is my understanding as well.
I would disagree with that from my experience.
Yes.
So the motion is standing. Has the motion been seconded?
Mrs. Hubley? Yep.
So can we have a roll call on the vote?
Roll call vote. And I also, I think I have the authority to suspend the order and be able to bring the vote forward.
I would challenge the chair on that, Madam Chair. I
Yeah.
don't think you have the authority. The whole rule of the objection is for any member at any time during the discussion. People like to do it up front, but I think if you look into it, and you look at the history of the city council, it has happened during discussion, during various debates. So I just want on record that I disagree with the parliamentarians' ruling on that.
Parliamentarian.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Can we state what the motion is again before we make the roll call?
Roll call on the motion.
The motion is to seek independent legal counsel to get an opinion about whether or not the jurisdiction of the school committee and the city council, which has supersedes.
Mr. Begoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Cahill?
Yes.
Mr. Gattro?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lebo?
Yes.
Mrs. Perdios? No. Mayor Koch?
No.
Vote. Vote passes. It's the, left two.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the vote passes 5-2. Thank you. Next on the agenda is overview of adjustment counselors. Mrs. Lebo.
Thank you so much for getting this on the agenda. We're going to move this into teaching and learning. We have in the recent years put school adjustment counselors in play, and a lot of people are confused about the different roles between guidance counselors and school adjustment counselors. So we're just hoping to get that on teaching and learning so we can get clarification for our families.
Next on the agenda is a consent agenda roll call vote for regular meeting minutes, executive session minutes, and the donations to the Quincy Public Schools.
Motion to approve.
Roll call vote?
Mr. Begoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Cahill?
Yes.
Mr. Gattro? Yes. Mrs. Hubley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lebo?
Yes.
Mrs. Perdios?
Yes.
Mayor Koch?
Yes.
Okay, additional business, there is none. Communications, upcoming school committee meetings, regular meeting on June 12th, 2024 at 6:30 PM, Coddington Building. Upcoming subcommittee meetings at the Coddington Building, June 6th, 2024 at 6 PM. FY 2025 budget public hearing, FY 2025 budget and finance, teaching and learning, and policy. Workshop meeting to be scheduled to review the school committee goals document. Reports of subcommittees. Quarterly budget and finance summary of the May 8th, 2024 meeting. Mayor Koch.
I think there's been enough said on the budget. We'll be getting into it very soon, but we're in good shape in the current fiscal year, and now we're entertaining the fiscal 25 budget.
Thank you. Teaching and learning, Mrs. Lebo.
Yes, thank you. On May 15th, we had a subcommittee meeting of the Teaching and Learning Subcommittee, and our first item on the agenda was the curriculum, the social emotional curriculum map, which we had been hoping to receive, and I have to say that Ms. Papil did a great job of really nailing down what's going to be taught when, and it's a very comprehensive content area of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. And a lot of the schools, or all of the schools, are using Open Parachute. And we have received a substantial amount of grant funding over the past few years to put Open Parachute in play. And everybody's feeling very good about that. We also have Walker Therapeutics who are doing direct clinical work with our students as they need it. And they have expanded their process. Even though they have expanded their role with us, we still do have some students waiting because, as everybody knows, in this climate, we have a lot of students with social emotional learning. So it was great to see the curriculum map come into play. The second thing on the agenda was Director Mike Mullaney and curriculum coordinators Kim Quinn and Bridget Vaughn presented a summary of the professional development for this school year and the plans for moving into next school year, and they explained to us how cohesive it was and how it led to something else. We actually also heard that it was still completely collaborative with the teachers on picking any new curriculum pieces and voting on it and piloting it, so we were really happy about that. And the minutes for the whole meeting are posted online, so if anybody would like to see it. Thank you.
I think it's the mics. Oh, we need to do a voice vote for the removal of, yeah.
And the superintendent's goals from the subcommittee meeting, because they're both completed.
Second by Mrs. Hubley. A voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is policy, a summary of the May 15th, 2024 meeting, and removal of health screening policy. Mr. Guttrow. I think you're Nina Liang. Try that.
There we go.
Yep.
So I, earlier on the agenda, I discussed the issue that was talked about on the May 15th meeting, which was policy number 10.19, the concussion policy, and it was a motion to substitute. That's going to be voted on at the next meeting. There was just a discussion around that, so that's listed in the meeting minutes. We also, a previous meeting, we need to remove number 5, creating health screenings policy for items in the policy subcommittee. The item was to be incorporated into the revision for section 10.11.1, physical examination of students, which we read in great detail during the subcommittee. This, I believe, is ready for a voice vote. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I make a motion that we accept.
Second, for anyone? Mrs. Hubley? Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda is executive session. There is none. And with that, we have a motion to adjourn. Mr. Pagoli, second by Mrs. Lebo. Meeting is adjourned.